is the place where real dialogue matters.
Make some noise for that sound, man.
It is time to take flight with Audio Airstrike.
What's up, everybody? This is Everett Hall-McNeill, and this is Audio Airstrike. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 139. Now, I have a special guest with me. He's been on Audio Airstrike multiple times. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a YouTuber, entertainer, a filmmaker, an actor, and as you can hear, a new father. Ladies and gentlemen, Seanessy The King is with us. What's up, man?
What's going on, Everett? Thank you for having me. Hello, Sebastian. My son, Sebastian the Crab Cake. He is, he's already done with this lifetime. He came into the world during a pandemic and civil unrest, and as you can hear, he's tired of it already.
You can't blame him.
Right? What a time to come into the world.
Right.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's one of them things. So I'm going to get right to it, man. We're going to talk about Wayfair. There have been allegations made by QAnon that Wayfair is child trafficking through products that are overpriced, cabinets and stuff of that nature. Right. And then weirdly putting their name and weirdly putting either the personnel that may have the children, the owner plus the location. Now, since these rumors have come out, of course, Wayfair has denied all sexual assault or child trafficking cases, rather. Now, I hope this is not true. I hope, because when it comes to kids, I don't play around. Right. And you being a new dad, and I know it's kind of awkward for me talking about this, and you got your baby in front of your hands. You know, it's one of those situations where it's like, when you hear crazy stuff like this, it's like, who can you trust at this point? Because on one hand, you have this group out there that is bringing light to a situation that a lot of people are going to claim is untrue. Like, is there any facts to this or anything of that sort? But on the other hand, you have a company that has these overpriced cabinets, and there's something sketchy about it. Like, why would a cabinet that is the same quality as almost a Walmart cost that much money? You know, that's kind of sketchy to me. So when I look at the situation, really all I have to say about it is I hope it's not true. I hope that, you know, stuff does come to light, and if that is happening, that those people that are doing this is brought to justice. You know, we were talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, on the show last episode, and how, you know, I got friends, and I said it before, and as you can see here, me and Sean have been friends for 7 years now. It's been that long. So,
I'm surprised you kept count.
I did. I keep count of every friendship. Every friendship, I keep count of how many years. After
3, you locked in. You family at that point.
Right. You know, it's one of those situations where I've known Sean for 7 years. We're coming up on almost a decade once we get to 8. But I mean, it's one of them situations where, you know, he's a parent now. My other friend Matt is a parent now. My other friend Sahil's a parent now. So it's one of those situations where, you know, this hits home for me now more than ever, because I got friends that are fathers and mothers. You know what I mean? So it's very troublesome to me when I hear that there's possibly the activity of child trafficking through a website such as Wayfair, even though we don't know at this point, based on conflicting articles, if this is necessarily true or not. But if it is, something needs to be done, and this needs to be brought down. Absolutely. Sean, what are your thoughts?
So I'm I feel multiple ways about it. I was doing some research on the Wayfair thing. First thing, Wayfair has always been expensive, so I've always seen like ridiculously overpriced. Bless you. You got another one? They've always been ridiculously overpriced in their things. And, when I heard about what was going on, basically Sebastian's face was my reaction. That's how I felt. And so, I'm going to give you the mama, okay? Okay. Are you fine here? And so when I was... You going to change them? Okay. When I was doing the research on it, originally, I saw the tweets and, I saw the correlation between the name of the product and like the name of the actual girl who was kidnapped or the child that was kidnapped. And so that got me to thinking, that's a pretty big leak. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not like, okay, donating to the Trump campaign or donating to like that's full blown advertisement of sex trafficking. It just seems so odd, that it seems too plain sight. So I did some research and I found out about a QAnon. And so basically, and I'm going to make it brief because, this is just what I've seen. I encourage anybody else to do their own research. When I looked up QAnon, they're essentially an extreme, I guess they would call it conservative rightist group that is determined to expose what they call the deep state. I guess all of the illegal things that go on behind doors, and all the government officials and all these organizations for like sex trafficking and all the illegal stuff they've been doing. But here's the kicker. They're diehard Trump supporters.
Mm.
And for what I've been seeing for the research that I've done is you'll see a lot of like Qs at Trump rallies to represent QAnon. And apparently they do this a lot where they do like these really big conspiracy theories, like they brought Hillary Duff into one. Apparently Oprah's tied into sex trafficking according to QAnon. And, apparently it started around Trump's re-election campaign. So when you have all those pieces there, it kind of gets you, at least it got me thinking. And I'm wondering, is this a tactic to blow Trump up in the media and win him another vote, win him an election? Because then I looked up, the companies that they call out and the people that they call out, and they're either split in who they donate to in terms of Democrat and Republican, or they donate mostly Democrat. So I'm not trying to make any claims that I don't know about. I'm just saying the pieces that I have at this moment from my research give me the impression that this could be a really strategic move to control the media and warp a narrative that kind of gets people into reelecting Trump somehow. So, and aside from all that, I share your sentiments about, Wayfair is, trafficking children. Please, God, don't let that be true. But I don't know. Based off of what I'm seeing, it seems like that's QAnon's modus operandi to like really target specific things and make these really boisterous claims. It's not to say it's not true, or it's not to say like stuff like that doesn't happen in our country, but to see the organization that seems to have an alliance with Trump or a fanatic about Trump in a way that's supportive really makes me wonder what the purpose is behind these claims and what the goal is.
And it also makes you wonder how long the group is going to stay around in the future. So if Trump is reelected, how long are they going to stay around? Once Trump's term, let's say Trump wins and the 2 terms are over, are they going to stay around for the long term as a group? Also, another thing, if he doesn't win, is this group going to still stick around? Like, are they going to turn the dial up even more? Because, as you said, based on what you've researched, this group has only been around since roughly around Trump's reelection. This is the first time we've heard of this group. So, it's interesting to me that there's this group that wants to see a greater good and bringing down the child trafficking and stuff like that, which is something that Trump wanted to do. That is one of the leading things of his campaign, is he wants to focus in and hone in and dismantle that. That is a fact. However, it's very interesting to me because I'm in a situation now where it's like, okay, we have a group A that's doing, like, anytime I hear far right or far left, I think, okay, how extreme are you guys are really? Like, that's like, I don't like anything far left or far right.
Right.
Politically, I want some type of balance.
Absolutely.
I don't want something coming up where it's too far left to the point we don't have no rules, and it's too far right to the point it's constricted. Now, take that for whatever you want to take it to. I want a sense of balance. That's just how I am. The issue is that there's so much mysteriousness behind these different groups that come up, whether it's anonymous, whether it's QAnon or name something else, that there isn't a collective group of people that are the faces of the movement or this group. They always, like, what makes them mysterious, they seem to hide behind the keyboard or hide in the shadows and report this stuff. As if somebody, if they're afraid to come out because somebody's after them, which might be the case. I'm not sure. But it's interesting to me. My whole point of saying this is it's going to be interesting to me to see what is the end game of this particular group. Like, if Trump wins, is this group going to get quiet, or are they going to turn up? And the same thing if he loses. Are they going to keep this going? Because if they keep it going, regardless if Trump wins or loses, I feel like at that point, then they're here for the greater cause and the greater good, like they say they are. But if your message only hinges on his win or possible second term, then what was the point of you doing all these procedures and trying to expose the corrupt? If it is for the greater good. That's just me.
I question, anybody who says anything in relates to the greater good nowadays, because, who is one person or one organization to define the greater good anyway? Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, like I said, based off my research, and it could also be all bunk, because this could be just the narrative they're driving, in the front end to fool everybody. It's really not the loud and proud enemies that are the dangerous one. It's the silent ones in the shadows who are like, you really don't know what they're thinking, or what they claim to be thinking, or who they really are. But the greater good at what cost? At cost of who? And who will it affect? They say that every president before Trump was, in bed with the government, and that Trump is the only one that will be like kind of the savior. So, in that sense, it's weird because it's like, oh, I want to get behind your organization and what they're doing, but Trump as a savior, I'm not seeing it. I don't want to diss anybody's political views. I don't want to make this into a political discussion and personal feelings based off of what that man done said and did. I'm just going to say, I'm not seeing it. I'm not convinced.
Yeah, it's gonna be yeah, it's pretty interesting, man. I it's one of the things I got to sit back. I got to do more research. I got to see what, because nowadays, man, I hate to say this, like as we get older, you have to vet so many different things because people nowadays, like I feel like people nowadays tend to hide their true intentions instead of just putting it out there and exposing them.
Oh yeah, it's been
It's
forever.
yeah, it's like I don't have, especially where I'm at now, like I don't have time to try to read people. Like I need to know where you stand so that way I have the choice to either stand by you or step away from you. Like
Right,
I need to know ASAP. I don't have time to try to figure you out for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years for you to do something stupid and now you dirt my name and reputation. Like I don't
right.
like I don't have time for this.
Just
Like
keep it 100 with me,
yeah.
homeboy. If you racist, you hate blacks, cool, bet. High five. I guess not because you don't want to get dirty, but fine. At least I know where you stand. But don't walk around here with like some secret. But it's all because it's all about control. And the best way to control people is to take advantage of. I always preach basic psychology and rhetoric. Humans are naturally trusting, and the brain is always looking for shortcuts. So, how do you fool somebody? Well, go up to somebody, look sad, ask them for $1 to $10. They may just give it to you. You just got $1 to $10 for doing absolutely nothing but asking for it and pretending. You do that enough times, you can walk home with $1,000 for the whole day. Whereas somebody goes to work and they have to make $1,000 in a day if they work 8 hours. Most people don't even. I won't say most people. A significant amount of people don't even make $1,000 a day, and they do a lot more work that's very, very more is a little more contributes a little more than just walking around asking other people for their $10. So, you've got people with all sorts of different motives. That, I mean, let's be real. If somebody walked up to you and said, "Hey, I don't really feel like working no more. I just want to like have people give me money. So can you give me like $1 to $10?" You'd be like,
I
"No."
ain't giving you not a doggone thing. You better get the heck out of my
Right.
face. You
So
better work.
right. We all have this sense of well, not all of us. A lot of us has this sense of contribution where we feel, well, you need to contribute. And of course, with any view, there is an opposite view. And there are some people who are just like, I don't need to contribute anything. I'm entitled to it because I want it.
Mm.
It was,
Yeah, those.
the shopping cart theory is actually what it is. Have you heard about the shopping cart theory?
Explain that for the people.
I'm going to do
I
a
saw
brief.
the post. I saw the post on Facebook and I skimmed through it.
Yeah, it's kind of a brief description of like your moral code as a person. You go to the grocery store, grab a shopping cart, do your shopping, groceries, leave. What do you do with the shopping cart? Do you take it back to do you walk the 3 to 10 feet to put the shopping cart back or into the little shopping cart holder that's designated there for you? Or do you just leave your shopping cart as is? It's there's really no right or wrong answer, but it is very revealing about who you are in that moment and kind of in general. Like, can you really not walk 3 to 10 feet to return the shopping cart? Are you that much in a hurry? Are you that inconsiderate? Do you care that little? So same thing with life.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I definitely agree with that. Moving on to the Redskins. It looks like on Monday that we will finally figure out what in the world their name is going to be.
I'm excited.
And I don't even know. And excuse me for those of you who want me to call it the Washington team at this point. I will call it the Washington team. I will not use the term Redskins from here on out. With that being said, with the Washington football team, look, at this point, I don't care what they call it. In my personal opinion, it's down to the Warriors or the Red Tails. But I think somebody has the copyright to those. Somehow somebody put in the copyright for them. If I were them, look, I would just pay to grab ownership of one of the copyrights. That's just me. I would just pay whoever made the copyright, get with the lawyer, be like, hey, we know you got the copyright for this. We'll pay you X amount of dollars to get the copyright off you. Just do that. Change the name so you can move on. And maybe you won't have such a cursed season that you've had for the past 20 or 30 some years. You know what I mean? So it's, it's one of those things where, just bite the bullet, change the name to one of those two or whatever you decide, and then take it from there.
I'm surprised they didn't do a community outreach thing where they asked the community and asked, Washingtonians what they felt the new name should be and got people like involved in it because, football is a big involvement community sport. Why not reach out to maybe it was just something I didn't see because I don't watch sports like that or not football. So I'm surprised they just didn't do a little community outreach and say, hey, guys, we're doing this because we realize that it's offensive. It's been asked for decades for us to get rid of this name. But we want to make sure that, we're still in touch with the community and that it reflects the community. What would you guys like to call it? And of course, you're going to get your troll responses, but, you got social media people to go through the ones that are like, oh, you sit down with the social media team. We're like, here are the ones we got. Here are the ones that aren't copyrighted. Now we're going to throw them out there and have Washington vote on it or the world vote on it. I'm surprised they didn't do that.
A couple of things. I don't expect the ownership of the DC team to do that. Now, if this was other team, like if we had to change our name, yes, they would do that. They would let the fans decide what the name is going to be. I think they did do that back when they when they expanded the team and became the Ravens. I think the fans actually got a say in changing the name to the Ravens, I think. But I have to look that up to confirm. But one of the things that when it comes to this, the reason why I'm saying they might not have done that is because people have frowned upon Dan Snyder's leadership and ownership. He did say in 2013 that he would never change the name until his pockets were threatened. And now he's sitting over here in 2020 changing the name. So that tells you where his loyalty lies.
Right.
It's one of those situations where money talks. And when they refuse to sell your merchandise on NFL Shop when FedEx, which owns with FedEx Field, FedEx is asking you to change the name, or they will cut ties of any type of stuff going on with that stadium. They may even remove themselves away from that stadium name, which is very possible. You have no choice as a businessman to make the smart decision, just change the freaking name. Like, yeah. It's like if somebody said, yo, you're going to lose all these endorsements and lose a lot of income and money if you don't change this name, you doggone right I'm going to change the name. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it really gets me that there always seems to be some controversy with it. Remember, historically, they were the last team to let people of color play on their team. And honestly, they didn't even do it because they wanted to. They did it because their lease was threatened on their stadium back in like 19 whatever. Just a quick Google search. So it's funny how there's always got to be pressure put on this team for them to do something. Like it really is, like you said, it really speaks volumes of the moral code. I'm really interested in seeing the backlash that comes from this because football fans are a little cuckoo. So once the name is changed, I foresee a whole lot of more protesting where people walk out in their original gear protesting the name. Because, we like to protest things that are, what's the word? I don't want to say stupid because that's offensive. We protest things that seem, to me, very trivial. Like wearing a mask. Oh, did I say that out loud? Anyway.
This audio airstrike, you can say how you feel on the show. Yeah, I think it is very trivial. Anybody who knows the historical ramifications of the word redskin knows that is a derogatory term towards Native Americans, and out of respect for them and out of respect for people that find that offensive, whether you like it or not, I don't see a problem with changing the team name. I mean, hell, it might actually help the Washington team actually win a Super Bowl for the first time in doggone near 20 years. So, it's one of those situations where, you have to adjust, grow, learn for the sake of your business. If you want more income coming in, and truth be told, some of the best owners and leadership people, they don't move because the bag is threatened. They move because it's the ethical way to do things. That's the difference between a good boss and a good leader versus a petty one.
Right.
So I think, it's one of those situations where that has to be done that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's I agree 100%. Pete, they've been asking you to change it. They've been saying it's offensive. Just change it. Good grief. Ain't no big deal. Well, I mean, I'd be a liar to say it's not a big deal. Morally, it shouldn't be a big deal, but, business-wise and trademark-wise and industry-wise, that's a whole lot of work to go through. But y'all be fine. Y'all got a whole team to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are going from Dan Snyder's Entanglement to Jada Pinkett Smith's Entanglement. So let's unpack this for a second. This whole weekend, I kind of sat back and I watched the 13-minute or 12 to 13-minute segment with Will and Jada. The first thing that I'll say is this. And I think I think Charlamagne the God echoed these statements. I didn't see any true healing in that video. It seemed like, to me, and I'm just saying to me, I think they're still in the process of trying to figure things out with that particular situation. I think, this is just me. I think he's still kind of hurt by the situation. Looking at I'm only going based off the expression on his faces. That's
memes. It. You going off the memes.
It's like, and I don't, and I know the memes are funny. Everybody got the jokes off and whatever, but I'm looking at this on a deeper level. If you role reverse, Will Smith would be canceled right freaking now. Cancel culture would be knocking on Will Smith's door. If Will Smith,
CBS, every news station would be reporting on it. Will Smith's a pedophile.
Right. If Will Smith did the same thing that Jada did, this would be a totally different topic. People would be vilifying. People would try to ban Will Smith movies and ban shows. Like, it would have gone that far. But because, and look, I respect the hell out of women. I respect the hell out of women. I was raised by two women. So when I say this, I'm not trying to sound like a male chauvinist, but I have to be real, and I have to say this. This is where the double standard comes in this regard. This is where gender bias comes in this regard. Because people can understand to a point, they can get the jokes off and do all this, and okay, well, Jada was tripping or whatever, and they write it off like it's nothing. If Will does this in 2020, they're going to be coming after the Fresh Prince and trying to cancel every last episode. And that's a fact. So you have that aspect of it. Then you have August over here. First off, I think it's a dangerous thing to deal with somebody romantically that hasn't figured out certain things from a mental, emotional standpoint. To a point. You get what I'm saying? Like, if there's certain, like, there were so many things that just weren't defined as to what the rules were, as to what proper definitions were in terms of their connection. There weren't any definitions properly defined by the separation between Will and Jada. Yeah, we know they separated. They made that publicly clear. But there was a miscommunication, all because her words, and I'm just breaking it down here. I'm not trying to slam anybody. I'm just breaking it down here. She said, I wanted to feel good. Says it on air. I'm not trying to villainize her or anything. She says that. Which sparked another thought to me. Mm-hmm. Because the trope has always been a guy will go out and step out of his relationship to feel good. If a woman does that, it's a deeper connection, a deeper attachment. Like, her head is in that like a guy doing that, from what I've been told by other dudes who will remain nameless. So that they're just trying to have fun, get something off and be done with the issue. When a woman does that, there's deeper emotions involved. They are attached to this person. So with this particular situation, it spins the entire thing I just said on its head, because now she is taking, technically, what the guys told me, that approach. And it mind boggled me, because that is a turn, that is almost like a trick play or a turn of stuff that we haven't seen before. Because usually when we've had these discussions, we've never heard of a woman saying, at least that I've never heard a woman say, he looked fine, so I just wanted to have fun and we're just going to go do this. There was always an emotional connection with the stories that I heard of something similar to this. So for Jada to do that, it makes me wonder. I said, okay, is there a narrative that I'm not aware of where there are women out there that move similar to how the men move? Now, ladies, don't kill me for saying this. I'm asking the question. I'm trying to get the doggone answer right. Trying to get the right answer. Are there some women that move like that, where it's like, I'm just trying to have fun. You are young, you are hot. This is how far it's gonna go. Is that a thing? Like, I'm just asking. Well, I don't know why people get quiet here. I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
Your female listeners are sitting here like, so to your point, I think, one of the things, this is actually where a small, very subconscious amount of sexism comes in. Not to say that you're sexist, it's just the ideal behind that way of thinking is sexist, mainly because in the media, women have always been painted as more emotional and more connected than men. And
okay,
that is not necessarily always the case. Mm-hmm. You can see a pattern psychologically where men and women are different in terms of like spatial recognition and things like that. But when it comes to emotions, and I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not a psychologist. I'm a big fan of psychology. Everybody's brain is different. There are no two brains that are alike. But it is more of a driven narrative that women are more emotional than men. And the reason, again, it's sexism that pushed this because, we live in a patriarchal society. That's, I don't need to tell you about the employment gap or women couldn't vote till the 1940s.
Absolutely.
You guys all know this stuff. Where it comes to playing the media, though, is back to my points about psychology and rhetoric. If you control the media, you control the mind. So we live under a narrative that women are supposed to be this, that, and the third. Concurrently, let's just be honest, let's cut the shit. We don't raise our men to be emotional. We do not raise our men to deal with emotions. I'm not going to speak to any particular community in general, but the community that I'm talking about all men, but there is a particular community that knows it is very hyper masculine when raising men. Don't cry, that makes you a girl. Don't gossip like a girl. Don't do this like a girl. If you do this, you're a bitch. Da 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 da. All toxic things. Crying does not make you any more feminine than anybody else. Crying is a natural human emotion that spans across everybody. But there is a certain culture that is very toxic when it comes to raising their young men to have emotions and letting them express themselves because they have to be more this or more that. But the truth of the matter is, if you are not in touch with your emotions, you're not in touch with yourself. And when you're not in touch with yourself, guess what happens? You grow up resenting anybody who shows emotions, which is why some cultures have men that grow up and call bitches crazy because they're emotional, because they're trying to explain how they feel, and that man isn't listening. And so she ends up doing something very egregious, and now she's crazy. Whereas on the other hand, those men, since they do feel emotions but don't know how to explain them and don't want to feel like a bitch, they clam up. They don't say anything. They keep to themselves. So they have no way of working through their emotions. And how does that manifest itself? It manifests itself through anger. It manifests itself through drinking, drugs, hyperactive sex, etc., etc.
Violence, potentially.
But there's a certain community that's not all the way ready for that conversation. And that's not just on the men, that's on the women in that culture too. Because there are women who have that toxic masculinity raising, like, oh yeah, no, my boys aren't gonna cry, my boys aren't gonna, etc., etc. Don't put no dress on, da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no exploration of emotions and curiosity as a young boy, and that is cause for a lot of the issues, relationship and gender issues that we have in our country and in our culture, because we don't raise our men the right way. And then to trace all that back to the point, yes, there are women who like to fuck. Not all women just want a relationship. Some women want their kitty ate, want their ass ate, want their guts torn open. I hope I'm not saying it. You said audio airstrike. I can say what I wanted, so I hope.
Go ahead.
I can rephrase that if I need to rephrase it.
Go ahead, say it.
There are women who like sex. Like, there are women who are like, damn. Young women who are like, yeah, I want to be with an older man because I want to know what that dick like. There are women who are like, dang, I want to be with a younger man because shit, yo, they young, they can stay hard longer, they can get it going. I could teach them some things, I could turn them out. It's just the truth, you know? Now, we're significantly, it appears, in our community, in our country, harder on men because men have built a whole system around it. Men have literally kept people from jobs and, you know, elevation of women. So, you know, it's kind of that thing where it's like, you know, white privilege and male privilege. Yeah, do white people suffer? Yes, but if Everett goes into a room and Eric goes into a room there's a skin color bias, point blank, period. It exists. Same way if I go into a room or my wife goes into a room, there's a sex bias because that's just what the media has painted for us all these years. It's subconscious, but it's very, very, very real because the brain is always looking for shortcuts. So what you're fed on your screens, on your TV, is what you believe. But some people don't do their research further than when they were born. So they're just like, oh, well, I've never experienced that. I've never seen it. I've never blah, blah, blah. Well, if you just go back 10 years before you were born, you'll see why people are talking about this shit now. If you could just do a little Google search, just one, just do one a day. You don't even got to do it for that long. Do it for 10 minutes. You'll figure out some shit that you should have known. But we're not taught that. Why? Because we want to keep the status quo, because that's when America was great.
It's very interesting to me when I sit over here and look at relationships, because I remember, sometimes we tend to put people in a relationship box. Like, we tend to say, well, this is who you are, but this is the codes and ethics within your relationship that you have to live by. And sometimes, and I'm not excusing the behavior, because the behavior is wild to me. Just based on my standards and beliefs, it's just a little wild to me. It ain't something I can co-sign. Right. However, I do understand the construct of, well, you're this motherly figure and you have to go by these certain rules and you can't sit over here and do this and that. Your life is pretty much, you have to adjust. This isn't about you anymore. Like, sometimes how that is worded, if you're not careful, you are subjecting someone to a box and putting them in a claustrophobic state, where they feel like, because I'm XYZ, I have to live up to what my kids think or what my husband thinks or what the public thinks that I should be as in terms of a mother. That can kind of be a very closed-in box where you only have a little bit of wiggle room. You know what I mean? So at some point, if whoever keeps on putting them in that box keeps on putting these labels on them, depending on the personality, depending on what happens at home, it eats away at the family system. Because now, and that construct isn't just happening with the mother. That construct is also happening with the father, with the husband. And that could be affecting, and sooner or later, it's going to affect the kids. So we have to. No, I mean, I'll pass it to you when I'm done this last statement. We have to be aware of the fact that not everybody is afforded the benefit of the doubt. Not everybody is afforded the rule book of how to move. And first and foremost, parenting, there's no rule book on parenting. I don't care what book you picked up. I don't care what you read on an article online. How I'm going to raise my kid when I have them someday is going to be slightly different than how Sean might do it. Because we were raised in two different homes. There's strong similarities that me and Sean can agree on, but there's going to be slight nuances that make it different. There are some things Sean may be a little bit loose on than I am. I may be stricter on certain things and vice versa. But it's one of those situations where we can't put our Bible of parenting on somebody else, because parenting is such a very unpredictable situation, and the personality of the parents isn't necessarily going to be the same personality of the children. And also you have to factor in the generational construct that each generation is growing up in. The generation that me and you grew up in is not the same generation that your kid is going to grow up in. It's just not. They think differently than us. They're more aware of stuff than us. Like it's like because it's at their fingertips more. So it's one of those situations where we have to adjust on the dime. Our parents had to adjust on the dime. Why? We were actually getting along with other races more than their generation was. Obviously, things were different. Technology was sweeping in. Now we have to take that into consideration. So our parents had to adjust on the fly several times. We're going to have to do the same thing. So when it comes to this particular incident with Jada and with Will, we have to. I said, what could have been the cause of that miscommunication, that separation, and stuff of that nature? That could have came into play. Sean, what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, like I co-sign with just about everything you said. Another thing I'd add to that is it's none of our fucking business. It's their marriage. They separated 4 years, or they separated for 4 years. They were 100% done with each other. They knew that for a fact. And Jada was not in a good headspace. She got married, and you can argue she shouldn't have gotten married if she was in that bad of a headspace. But let's cut the shit. A lot of y'all niggas and bitches is in relationships y'all got no business being in right now. Y'all are in relationships where y'all trying to fill a void that's been there because of something your daddy did or your mama did or your friend did. Like, but you want to come and talk about Will and Jada. Like,
well, some people like to take a crap on everybody's misery, so
right, of course, but
to hide their own.
Exactly. So when I saw the Will and Jada thing, I really thought, a lot of people said it didn't feel genuine, but to me it did. Like the way they were talking to each other, the way me and Demina talk to each other when like we have a disagreement on things, or like one of us is feeling down, or one of us is feeling like not happy or something like that. I go back to Will's. I realize I can't make my wife happy, and he's right. You cannot make somebody else happy. Happiness is a choice. If you're not happy in your moment, if you cannot find your happiness, you're just not going to be happy. You know what I'm saying? Jada wasn't happy. That's why she said, I just wanted to feel good. And a lot of people took that as an insult to Will, but it really wasn't. Because it was internal, what she was expressing. Nothing could have made her happy. She could have had all the money in the world, the best husband in the world, whatever that looks like. She was not happy within. And for those, I feel sorry for the people who really didn't absorb that message, because that was a powerful message.
Right.
You can have great things in your life and still feel like shit. And that's what Jada was expressing. Empty. That's what I'm saying. That's all Jada was expressing. She was saying, yeah, I have a good husband, good kids, all this blah, blah, blah. I felt like shit. And she poured that into wanting to fix someone else. And I guess maybe I resonated with that better because that was me at the time. I didn't want to face my problems, so I found people with problems subconsciously and would try to help them fix their problems. So I vibed with Jada on that because I was like, oh, okay, I get that. Now, why it had to be one of her son's friends is a whole different cluster of psychological things to look at, but she did what she did. Can you get him back? She did what she did, and that's how she okay. That's how she wanted to handle it. Do I agree with it? Not necessarily, because boy, that's pretty young. Like, ma'am. But if you really studied it, you could say maybe Jada didn't have much of a wild phase in her younger days. So maybe, that whole thing with August made her feel young again. Women go through that. Men go through that. Where you're just like, dang, I'm getting old. I'm not feeling happy. I don't feel like I had a wild phase with these youngins out here. Maybe it was that. It could have been anything. We don't know. But, and I really enjoyed that we ride together, we die together, bad marriage for life. Well, a lot of people took that for face value, but anybody, ooh, that's a good burp, son. Anybody who, I won't say anybody, the way I read it as somebody who's happily married is all that it was a reflection of there's no perfect marriage.
Right.
Because regardless of what the marriage is, regardless of the background of the two people, you are taking two imperfect beings and putting them together from two different backgrounds, from two different sets of baggage, from two different sets of flaws, from two different sets of mental issues, from two different sets of trauma, and you're putting that together. Now, what I will say, strong case for single people to remain single. And as somebody who is happily married, I'll tell you right now, if you think you're going to get into a marriage to fix yourself or be served, don't do it. You do not get into marriage to get anything for yourself. You get into a marriage to give. But this is coming from somebody who's only been 2 years married, so y'all gotta take my word for it. Shit.
But I do think that's definitely gems though, because a lot of people, you'd be surprised, man. A lot of people get married and think, I'm gonna just be cut straight to the choice. I'm just gonna cut right to the chase and say this. Some people get married just to say they're getting married. Some people get married just because it's something to talk about for a milestone that you want to hit at a certain age to feel validated. And if you're doing that, it's all for the wrong reasons. Like if you're doing that, you are going to get divorced in about 2 to 3 years, tops. Because you didn't take that time to really figure out, what did you want? Right. What did he want out of the relationship? What makes y'all tick? Is this going to work? No, you want to rush, put the ring on the finger, get to the altar just to be in a divorce court later. Why? Why set yourself up for that headache? And look, I know I'm striking a nerve, but this is crucial. This is very, very important. People have got to realize that this marriage life is not a game. When two people commit to each other, they are committing to each other, and it is very serious. It needs to be taken seriously. Like, we sit over here like a lot of people, and especially people that are in our generation, get so caught up in a milestone and I have to be married at a certain point. No. Your behind needs to focus on, is this the right person for me? And is this husband material before I say I do? Before I even accept the ring on the freaking finger. Is this man or woman perfect for me? I'm not asking her to be the perfect wife for everybody to comment on. Is this the perfect fit for me? I'm not saying it has to fit right. I'm talking about the perfect fit for me. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about...
capitalize on that thought to even say, are you healed enough to be married?
True. That's huge. That's huge.
Because here's the thing. If you're not healed, if you don't know yourself, people think that they can tie their happiness to some kind of goal or achievement or milestone. You cannot. You have to have happiness within where you are. I go through depression and anxiety all the time. And when I have those episodes, I have to tell myself, you know what? This episode doesn't define me. It's just a part of me. Now, what can I do to do something productive until this episode passes? I went through one when I was building Sebastian's crib. I was just like, wow, this crib is just too much to do. This, that, and the third. So I just took a minute and I was like, you know what? Sebastian crib not going to get built today. I'm not going to beat myself up over that. He's got somewhere to sleep until I'm ready to get back to it. Because if I were to force myself to do it, who knows? I could have built it wrong, and then it could have been a hazard for my son. but my son was not in dire danger at the moment. So you cannot look for something to fill your void. Your void has to be filled. And you have to know that growth does not stop at marriage. Growth does not stop at that dream job. Growth does not stop at the kids. Growth does not stop at anything. You are a human becoming until the very day your heart beats for the last time. So when you are getting married or when you are getting into anything, you have to ask yourself, am I mentally, emotionally, and spiritually prepared to do whatever it takes to get to whatever the result is? If that result is a happy marriage, then you need to know what does that look like for you and what does that look like for the person you're marrying.
Absolutely. Because it's very important. Definitions, clear definitions are very, very important, man. I couldn't have said it better. The last point I want to get to is if you're August, what advice do you give to him?
For August? Whew, man. August has to heal. He's got to heal. Because I don't know the situation with him. I know he was going through a really, really rough time, which is why, the Smiths took, love on him, and he expressed himself, I guess, in a song. And I don't know what his deep tie, if his deep tie to Jada is. Well, you know what? Jada had mentioned it. They didn't talk for a long time after their entanglement. Relationship, as Will calls it, entanglement, as Jada calls it. And so I think August, like Jada had said, while she did that red table, there's some healing that needs to happen. I'm surprised August wasn't on it, but then I can also understand. But I can only imagine, I can only hope that if that pain is still there, that Jada, Will, and August will have a sit down to get that full healing, because August felt compelled enough to speak on it, which means there was something that was still there that needed to be addressed. And as far as that goes, again, you got to figure out what it is that you want for you. And typically, once you know that, the person that's meant for you will reveal themselves. You'll just kind of, like they say, when you know, you'll know because you know you, and you'll be like, huh, this fits. For a while, it wasn't, for me and Demeanor, it wasn't like we knew the moment we met. We felt something and we followed up on that feeling, and it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows every time, but there were key integral moments, a selection of moments for us, and it's different for everybody, where it was like, yeah, I could see this forever. Same for me. Some of those moments, me and Demeanor were like, yeah, I felt that too. And some moments, Demeanor was just like, yeah, for this moment, it was for me. And I'll be like, oh yeah, for this moment, it was for me. And we bond over that. Communication. You have to talk about what you want. You have to talk about how you feel. You have to talk about what matters, what doesn't, what triggers you, what doesn't, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of that. And that's what I would, if August is struggling with that stuff, bro, find yourself. You may not be meant to be with somebody either, but I think the true goal in becoming whole and becoming free starts with you. And once you get to that point, you get to a point where you can realize, like if someone were to ask me, if Demeanor left you, how would you feel? I mean, I'd be sad for a brick and a half because that's my homegirl. Like, I'm not going to laugh as much every day as I used to because she'd be bringing me some laughs, but I'd be all right because I'm good with me. Like, I won't get the same kind of laughter that I get when she's around. I'll still laugh, but I'll laugh differently. But as far as will my life fall apart if she were to leave me, nah, I'd be pretty messed up for a little bit, like sad, like dang, that sucks. But I'll be good because I know me. Same with her. If I were to leave suddenly, she'd be sad about it, but she wouldn't. Her life wouldn't stop because she knows her and she knows what she wants. It's about finding. It's about two whole people coming together and continuously working and communicating through it, and becoming a team, and staying a team. If that's how you define your marriage. I don't want to put my definition of marriage on other people. Some people's marriages include a third person, and they have fun with that.
Well, it's very interesting, right? I think at the end of the day, it's one of them things where you have to know what you want out of this marriage, and also you have to understand where the other person is coming from. I think communication is key, but also I think having self-health is key as well. Like, there's nothing worse than two toxic people that don't know how to communicate getting into a marriage because of pressures of either what they conjure up in their head and not communicating, or the pressures of others. So one thing I will say is, let this be a lesson to those of you who have sat back and have watched this whole thing play out. Please, before you jump into anything, know thyself. Please.
Yes, know thyself.
Please.
In everything, in all things.
Yes, absolutely. Well, with that being said, man, I want to thank you for coming on, man. I definitely appreciate you coming on, and nice to see Sebastian making his audio airstrike debut as well.
Right? Look at you, son. Already just stealing people's hearts.
So with that being said, man, where can we find Seanessy The King on social media and stuff of that nature?
Listen up, guys. Follow Seanessy The King on Instagram. Seanessy The King, SeanessYTheking on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Snapchat, on anything that you do. Seanessy The King is probably on that, except Pornhub. That's none of y'all business.
Good God.
That's an incognito username that you don't need to know about. No, but yeah, follow me. I do funny skits. I do parodies. Looking into doing some other stuff, some bigger content right now. Developing more of a niche, because it looks like a lot of people need a little more laughs and they need therapy. So check me out. I'm doing a giveaway, actually. All you got to do is follow all my social media accounts, share 2 of my videos, and then comment done on the giveaway video. And it's an $80 giveaway. So if you need $80, $80 is groceries for some people. It's a full tank of gas, 2 full tanks of gas, depending on what kind of car you drive. 3 sometimes. Come on, y'all. All you gotta do is follow my channel, share my videos, and there you go. Join the royal family. Why would you not want to join the royal family? Look at this face. All right, Sebastian, I know I'm exploiting you for. Look at his face. You don't want to follow this face? I mean, you'll be seeing more of my face, but look how precious
you doggone near kicked him out the house the last video, so I ain't forget that.
As you can see, he's still here though, my little man. Anyway, but yeah, that's where you can follow me. Check me out. All that good stuff. Yes, I know. You were sleeping.
Well,
we have a good time.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. Well, definitely go out there and support Seanessy The King and all his social media content. You can follow him on various platforms. Do not follow him on OnlyFans if he has one. I don't know for
Not
certain
yet.
the way that he was talking. You better not have one, because I would definitely give you a phone call off air and be like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Look, gotta pay these bills. Eat.
I don't care. Find a different way. that is too much.
Start a GoFundMe, but don't go to OnlyFans. You call me when you about to sign up for OnlyFans.
Right. Yeah. If you thinking that, then look, I'll send you some edits to do for a couple of dollars. Anything but that. Dear God.
Oh God, that's funny.
Well, with that being said, this has been another edition of Audio Airstrike. Seanessy The King, thank you for coming on. We will be back with another episode later on in the week. Until next time, everybody, y'all take care.